Oh! Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we're going to be taking a look at round 3, match number 3. It is between KADOKAWA Dreams and Benefit 1 MONOLIZ. So I have something fun to share. Outside of this, very recently, actually like not even 24 hours ago at the time we were recording this, Satsuki from KADOKAWA Dreams commented on one of my D.LEAGUE videos of their match, and he was appreciative of the analysis, and that made me feel really good, honestly, because that means that I'm not out of pocket, really, in the sense of like I'm not being so analytical. So that was encouraging for me, knowing that I could potentially be helpful, but also I'm just an admirer of the league as well, as more of a commentator here in this position, not really an adjudicator, but I do have my little adjudication moments. So just know, I mean, it's really fun that we have those that are actually in the league. This is potentially helpful to them. I like hearing that. And it makes me want to, I mean, of course, having the discussions with everybody is wonderful, but it does provide an extra level of motivation to try to do my best to make sure that my condition is good. So whenever I approach it, I'm able to do it. That's actually effective and helpful. So, but going back to the match, I'm very curious about this, as KADOKAWA is known for more of their synchronicity concepts. Their last round was a banger. Loved it. Benefit 1, MONOLIZ, they always bring something very different, and they've been doing very well as well in the point system. I mean, they tied, I think, in their first round. In round 2, they won, so they're sitting pretty. I mean, KADOKAWA had a freaking shutout, and then also looks like they won pretty well from round 1. So we're coming against a winner versus a winner here. And so we're going to have a winner out of this, maybe, or maybe they tie. We'll see. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and take a look at each round or each match up, do an analysis of both, and then we'll watch the judges' commentary, because I also don't know who won. So that'll be really fun. But let's go ahead and get started.
From the concrete, strong or weak. She's never perfect, but she's never complete. So they're fighting for freedom, and they're fighting for peace. They fight to be heard, they fight to be seen. The highs are high, the lows are low. Never ending cycle.
Whoa.
My body so concrete, a palace I could roll.
Outfits are sick on this. Nice. Nice. Okay.
She rose from the concrete. She's strong, but she's weak. She's never feeling perfect.
Nice.
She's never feeling complete. The highs are high, the lows are low. The never-ending cycle. My body so.
Nice.
It's a palace I could roll.
Okay. That's pretty good, honestly. It was great. Here's the thing. Every single routine we see on D.LEAGUE is going to be good. It's is it good enough in comparison to their competitor? Is their competitors good enough in comparison to the two to get audience vote and things like that? But we won't be able to do that until we see both groups. Now, for this one, I did like it. I really liked the suit fit, and I liked just the choices of some choices that they were making in terms of just the technical depth that they were going for. I do feel though that there was maybe 1 or 2 instances where it felt like the movement was a little too loud for the section of the music that they were hitting, which I find so interesting because they were like, you couldn't be deeper in the pocket that they were in on their set last round, you know? So it's everybody goes through it. Everybody does. Just you kind of pick your poison. And who's in charge of it too. I think that also matters as well. Now, from this beginning, they are probably one of the few that the range of the hat was actually very clean. Normally, I'm able to pick out a lot of discrepancies in cleanliness based off of the hat, but theirs was pretty in check for the most part. So that gets a thumbs up for me. That is a lot harder to get right than you think. Setting this up here, let us boom right there. Have that little base represented. That's an appropriate way to use that. Yeah, hitting it down, bringing it up, hitting it down, and then having this nice little bleed moment. So it does feel like it's a hybrid kind of fix. We have a really nice velvet feminine energy stemming from the arms, but then a very suit-like masculine kind of bodice. And it does talk about women in this, so I'm wondering if that's kind of our premise to a degree, right? So I think that's kind of cool to see that here. I like the energy with the feature. Dripping it down. Really like the energy, and I love that reverb, that glitch effect that happened with our feature helping showcase that. You notice I even did that to the camera on accident. Finding for peace. So like that with the hinge, really nice to hit that low note. Then it heard great. Yep, had to be seen, dropping it down. Now this part, I think it was normally you don't see them hit and everybody is like directly behind each other as long as they chose to do it. I do think it's just in general, like this was just their preference choice, because here's the thing, they could have very easily done every other, they could have made it more partner based, but I think it was very intentional, their choice to make it look like they disappeared behind each other, because you can even tell based off of the height as well. That's what they were trying to do. And my overall note is this is where you see the highest risk of your hats being off. It's subtle, but it's still like, I mean, this is pretty, you see how freaking spot on that is? My goodness, that's great. You know, that with the wave, do, love that. Bringing it back up, I love this energy. And then having it down into a cobra setup, which is really nice. And then they transition over. Love that with the breath, and you saw the very quickness of that transition or that level change. I would say one of us is overshooting ever so slightly in this. I think they really propelled past that parallel position with the body, or maybe they needed to just come up a little bit more, engage that core. They probably are, but just in general note. Everybody's in line with the hips except for group number 3. They are it's down by the thighs. So that would be my note to refine there. Coming back up, boom, boom, boom. Really impressive that we can see a vibration without having to use any other external kinespheric setups within it. It's very impressive. This part right here too, we go and we switch it over. Now, because we are making the choice to have 4 do the same thing. What they could do here, if they want to maintain the visual of them having a mirror like this, is adjust your levels, especially because if you did this exact same thing, because remember, we're teetering now about maybe 15 seconds-ish at this point where we're kind of in unison. To a degree, of course, we had that little pop-out moment that just happened, and then we're back to unison. If they took this formation and they dropped them a little bit lower, and then maybe it'd say like to the floor, and maybe even chose to make the level, sorry, my lines are not lining today. If they chose to make this position a little bit like not arched, but angled diagonally, I think that would have enhanced this even more and not made it feel like we're sacrificing other elements that we could have really used to help maintain captivation with this section. I feel like we are teetering just a smidgen on keeping in unison for maybe a little too long without using other things to help compensate for that. So that would be my general note for this section is if we had every other, or if we had one person or maybe a each group doing something slightly different, but they are maintaining their mirror, then you still have that beauty that comes with it. That switch right there was nice with it bringing it around, but I also know based on how they chose to set up that technical sequence, it's really hard to get from a low level to a high level of levels there. So I understand that. I think our spacing's just slightly off. Oh wait, no, that was just a transition, my bad. This part right here, dun dun dun. That's really nice. Dun, dun, dun. And notice I had this little interruption in the torso. Really cool choice. This is another instance where your head goes does determine where that hat looks. So once again, this is still on the minor side because it's so fast. It's harder to catch. But notice some of them are teetering that hat down. It could be because of how they have it set up. It really could be that where they have it here. Some of them are draping it down. Some are having it about right here. That's just an in general kind of note with where you're having it sit on your head, because if everybody looks down at the same rate but the hats are set up differently, the hats are going to look different, right? So that's my something to keep in mind, where some of our head placements are a little bit more up. Some of us are kind of peeking our head forward. I really like this look of having this like half of the face exposed. That just looks very you just can't tell who is who, and that's what brings the beauty of the mystery. It's very mysterious. This boom, doom, doom, and I like that. Every other coming up. Notice one of our individuals, they came up just a smidgen too early, I think. They're dropping it down, and then that bringing it through. Love that. That very clear. Something they're very good at is with cannons. It's not really a cannon, but just a drop down, like a. It's like a, oh my gosh, my English is not Englishing today. I'm so sorry. Whenever they take their energy and they suck it from one side and they project it over to the other side, they do a good job on that. Yeah, ding, 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 ding. Hitting it through. Now, it does look like one of our individuals did not actually go down in any way. I know they went from something high to low, and that's what made that okay. But noticing here, they didn't really drop down at all, but I understand why. But I think there needed to be a little bit more energy presented in the drop down in some way, and then reset, because that would have made it feel more complete, because it kind of felt like our feature knocked everyone out except for one person. Maybe that's what they were going for. So that's an overall note. Having that energy, doom with the drop down, really love that. Swinging it through, love that. I'd say our camera angle really restricts us from truly seeing what this looks like from the front, from a judge's viewpoint. And that was a cool moment though. Now looking here, it's pretty clear that you're able to see some of these moments, and like you can tell that they're all going, it's like a slow-mo effect where they're anchoring one arm or leg in a position, and then they're allowing the other sections of the leg or the arm to move. So it has a sense of isolated, fixed point of perspective, and it's really nice to see. And everyone's making different choices, and that's what makes it captivating, but you do have more room for noticing, oh, somebody's foot looked like it kind of glitched and not the way that you want it to. It kind of looks like it got caught, or not everybody's moving at the same rate. Those would be little things to just adjust through. This is my example of that. It was more of it wasn't a bass of any kind, but they were choosing to go at it from a bass type of texture. Yeah, if they honestly approach this with like a legato in the setup versus this reverb that they're so good at, but we've already seen established when they hit the bass in the beginning of the first verse, because they chose to approach the beginning of the setup the same way in verse 2, it didn't feel as effective, and it kind of felt like a placeholder. So my note for this would be to make it feel more doo-doo-doo, so have more breath behind the setup, and then go into more staccato accents. Yeah, dun, 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 and then you hear this doom, 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 doom. It does feel like their attack. It is loud, and movement makes sense, because if you're tailoring to the back of the audience, a lot of times you feel like the knee that you need to hit in that way. That range was slightly off. She started a little earlier than they did, and they were a little bit late. This was really nice. Boom. That part was nice too. Perfect with the hinges. Really nice on the body rolls on that. A little bit of a toy, like a little toy man switch up, which was nice. And then one of them has them separated, one of them has it together. So that would be something to adjust as well. So I think out of all the sections, that was a section that disconnected the most with the music. And I understand why they made the choices they did, but the suggestion still remains the same, to either approach the legato of it to be a little bit more, to showcase more diversity within the posture, or to, what's the word? So just allow more breath and more dime stops or strobing versus ticking and pops. For that, I think would have read significantly different, and it would have shown depth of their dynamics and texture represented in comparison to what we've already seen from them. Because I know they're fully capable of it because they just showed us in the first half, right? So that second verse was a really great opportunity to showcase a different realm or pocket, and we didn't quite get that. So I think that may be a determining factor between how these results go. This was gorgeous, boom, boom with a drop. That was grimy, full of energy, but it didn't have a lot of this extra reverb a part of it, because you don't need it here. Boom, boom, and then they rebounded it, gorgeous setup. Down through, I love with that swipe across with the hat. The transition is nice with the dive, super fun. And that was interesting when we hit it. Normally they do that kind of move with their hands, like in like a tabletop, and they do it. But that was interesting that we saw it there. So it was like a different way to be sensual. And then I would say my range, one of them had their leg a little bit, the range was just off. They had their leg lower than it needed to be, so they needed to clarify their timing on that. I also am a fan of there being movement, even though there's other things being framed. That's my favorite thing I think KADOKAWA has done over the past couple of rounds that I've noticed it, where you're not just being still, you know? I mean, of course there's beauty in being still, especially if you don't want to take away from a particular formation that's happening. But at the same time, though, you want to be mindful that if there's a light on you, you want to utilize people to your advantage. And if there's going to be some sense of texture or dynamic that's going to allow that kind of fluidity or depth to whatever's happening in the feature, you're going to make it more three-dimensional versus, oh, it's just a feature. If that kind of makes sense. I always want to strive to do that, because you have 8 people, use your 8 people at all times, you know? Unless you're like setting up for a very specific concept, or if there's an add-on that's taking place or a canon whereby your movement would actually be more distracting than beneficial, because I made that note in last round where the beauty of the stillness in order to showcase the particular accent that they did with the backflip and the calypso double attitude from their last set from round 2, like I mentioned. There was beauty in that because they were moving, and then they had that moment of being frozen to allow that moment to take place so we could see it in its truest context, and then we went back to moving. That's a great example of switching between those two things. This was really, really nice. I love that rotation, have everybody shoot right back out. That little boom, boom. Now this part here doesn't feel very clear. I don't know if the intention is to be clear or not, but we do have like in every other attempting to start. There's somebody in the center a little bit teetering over, so I don't quite know what their point of this formation was. Could just be just to have a moment, branching out. Notice the spacing's just a little bit off here, a little bit too far out, and he's scooting just a smidge. And also the spacing on this side. What? This side's a little bit too far in actually as well. So it just doesn't feel as clear on this side especially. So you have one member that's too far out, and then you have 2 members that are too far in. But then this side feels like you can very clearly see everybody. So that would just be a note to adjust, I think. It's always impressive when you have the entire group do a whole vibration for 4 counts. That's great. Siding it through, really love the boogaloo influence with the bleed up, going from the outside to the inside. Now this was sides with a, and then we slow it down and create a moment near the end. I'm always a fan of those. And then we go back to the formation that we saw before with the wave, and then seeing the with the reverb happening. So it was more of the legato versus staccato, gave that energy. Maybe femme versus mask. I'm not even gonna really commit to that perspective, but that's what that gave off right there, was more legato in the back, staccato in the front. Love the peekaboo around, and then the twinkling end of the hands. So that was cool. Very cool. I really don't know. MONOLIZ always brings something so different. So I'm very curious as to what they're going to bring. Because this is either going to be close, or it could, I mean, we could have a very clear winner. I don't know. But we're going to go ahead and let's check out Benefit 1 MONOLIZ. Wow. Ooh. Oh, and heels. Okay. Oh, that was a minor fall right there. Oh. Wow, that was a nice moment. Okay. Oh. That looks like we have a special guest on stage, I believe. He doesn't look familiar to me. That was cool. It was cool. Was that the cleanest I've seen Benefit 1? No. There was like a legit fall from doing a back tuck, I think is what it was. And then a lot of the movements you saw some major stability, things that needed to be refined for sure. Ooh, okay. So let me go ahead and vote who I would think take audience. I mean, here's the thing. I was like so wrong the last time I voted. Like, here's the thing. I had so much confidence that Cyber Agent was going to get the audience vote, and they did not. Like, no. That was the only vote they didn't get was audience, but, you know, but to each their own. Going here, I have a feeling MONOLIZ may take audience for this because of the, I would say, BPM could potentially play a role. No, that feels very superficial. Not really BPM. Probably just the amount of depth behind a lot of the movement they were doing. They also had a lot of movement and a lot of sequences and a lot of setups and the formation changes, and they had more gimmicks and in their costuming. I mean, KADOKAWA had a freaking sick costume, not gonna lie. They did. But honestly, they did take a more simplistic route this time. It was beautiful. But when it comes to audience, there's a chance that MONOLIZ took it because they had more of that, it had more of that kind of power and presence that a lot of times audiences are able to glean more productively from. I think it's kind of the best way I can word it. So far, as we've heard, I do not have very great English skills. Whenever it's light outside, it's hard for my brain to start braining. Normally, I have to wait till it's darker. This was a really, really cool visual. Love seeing it, of course, with the, what is this? What is this called? It's like a folding divider. Yeah, that's what we would call it where I am. But I love the split right here being held is super dope. Love that we are complementing it here. It is cement. I mean, yeah, they're definitely in line with each other, which is really nice to see. It'd be really awkward if she was super over here and then she was hanging out here. It wouldn't quite look the way it needed to. branching it out and forward. Notice that my front dancer, she was a little bit too early on that pull, but my dancer on top, she kind of bled through all of them. So I don't know who's right, and that's fine. That would just have been something to refine there. The twinkling have their own moment. I love the opening right here with having the hands push it open. Then you get to see people slowly lower her down. That was super cool to see this. Look at the visual on this. It has this like spider-esque monstrous vibes. This is kind of cool, you know. So I'll even count the legs as a vibe, you know. This is a really, really cool setup. Coming up, bringing it through. And I would say spacing is a little off. She overshot it, and so she's a little too far over. And then she's right there in line. So I actually don't know if, because when you think about the lighting's pre-programmed, so it's not going to be something that they can just manually fix. So my assumption would have to be she is closer to being right because you're able to see the silhouette more. Like, you can barely see what's going on over here. It could just be because of the video. We could chalk it up to that. But having the energy, I love the accent there with the framing. Boom, having that pose. Dropping it down to the handstand. I love it. Pushing that away. I love that. Where they pull it in. Bring it through. Here we go. Now we have all of them in a very quick reveal. Nice strobe light to transition that. Hitting it down. Is it giving like aerobics, but on steroids? Absolutely. It does kind of give like a Mortal Kombat vibe too. Black Shadow Shinobi. There we go. So yeah, it gives off that. I don't know why I didn't even read the freaking title. Bless it. But spacing here, let's look. It does feel a little bit on the tighter end for line 2. I would say she's over just a smidge. She scoot out just a little bit. But spacing looks pretty nice. I do like this spacing here because it's equal on both sides. She's a little too far in. And then, of course, that provides a bigger gap. But I love having somebody at the top, which is nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're missing 2 right now. I love this little accent. Boom, bringing it through. And then right here, having somebody join in once again from the back, and then have this moment. I love this here. Did it feel a little bit off? Slightly, but not enough for me to be like, ooh, let's talk about it. The switch, So they do have a lot of these little like martial arts poses, but they do have a nice little hand Vogue nuance to it, and it's all the rave for me. Impressive with the fact that they're in heels too. Can we talk about that? Like, everything that they're doing here is difficult to do in tennis shoes. So in heels, even though there was a fall that took place, like, it's still very impressive. I love this here. I love whenever they choose the accent with the torso and choose to isolate with it. It's a really fun choice. Also, they do a very good job of making sure that their angles are in check on the lower half, not just in the upper half. That's a lot harder to justify than here. So they've done really well there. Rotations are great. I love that with the throw of the head to get into the figure eights before they drop it down, fold it down, bring it in. Nice energy. I think overall this could be something... honestly, this would have worked really well if if you had every other person go up, like if hers were up and everybody else's was kind of like parallel, then I think that would have read way different, but I think that just needed to be refined with how everybody bled out of it. This is super sick. This whole little sequence right there was dope. Dropping to the split, my god, that was gorgeous right here. And then right there into the cartwheels, hitting it through, ding, 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 and then reveal. Well, no, not quite reveal. This is most likely going to be not a lighting thing. I have a feeling she may not have been in the spot she needed to be in for that feature. Not entirely sure. We really couldn't see it on video. We would really need to see it live. Transition forward is really nice. I love seeing this here. Does it feel that we may be subtly restricted in some of our choices and transitions because we're in heels? Always. Like, you can't ever discredit it regardless of how good you are in heels. It's still something that does turn into where your weight shifts are, your weight distribution in general is, how you have to hold yourself in heels compared to whenever you're not in heels. It's just different. And so you have to calibrate everything differently. And you want to make it to where even if you're in tennis shoes or heels, it's still justifiable and it's still beautiful, but the heels do add an extra element of difficulty to all of this. And that's something that we cannot discredit, for sure. This right here going boom, 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 dropping it down, then having the moment of the add-on. I'm always a fan of that. Look at the lean for my front dancer, leaning it over into the ISO. It's really, it was really nice to see that. Dropping it through, bringing it around. She goes, does a back tuck. She does not land it even close. That would be considered a major fall. That was not really recoverable. She just has to hold it down. I'm glad that it wasn't like in the spotlight because we would have really seen her nail it on her knees. So the kind of like she hit it. She didn't really like complete the rotations what it looked like. So that would be my general note, just to refine that a little bit more. Sliding it through and feature. I love it where we have this little nice little divider here with the dividers. This is why I think this is a feature. I've never seen this individual before with MONOLIZ, and that's why I'm assuming they're a special guest. And they made him a whole moment, which is nice. Now that right there, I did feel like he was losing his balance ever so slightly. Maybe that was on purpose. Ding, ding, ding. It matched the music, so even if it wasn't on purpose, he did a good job of converting the musicality for it. Coming up. He's trying to stay center. Love it. Now everybody's framing towards the inside. We have a forward roll that took place to get her to move. I wish she didn't touch that divider because we noticed that. And then continuing, boom, da-da-da. No, love all these different hand positions is really nice. I don't quite know what each one means, but I am definitely a fan of just all the different. It does remind me a lot of like, if you've watched Naruto, they do a lot of those hand signals. So it could be in reference to that. I'm not sure because it does talk about Shinobi, but Black Shadow. But yeah, they do a good job justifying with levels, having their feature here. Now everyone's doing the same thing. God, I love this. They branch it away. Love this energy. Right there into round off back handspring, and we finish. And then we go right there into the duck walks. I love that part. That was really fun. I think the angle that we have, it was hard for us to see what was happening in the upper part. I wish we would have been able to see that transition out, but really nice. That was, oh my God, look at this angle. Like that is, put that on a magazine. That is Vogue to me. That's what that's giving. Like Vogue magazine needs that right there. Bless it. Now, in general, because I have it paused, not everybody's fully committing to the angle, or some of them have it closed, some of them have it open, some of them have it kind of separating in the face, and some kind of have it just vibing and chilling right there. So that would just be something to clarify, but that angle is so good. Ah, it's good. Right here. Love it. Very nice. So this is where Vogue has come out to play. I mean, it's been showing up the whole time, but you're seeing all the key elements in full force here. Love it with that Ranajam on there. No, this is that fan kick around. That's not even Ranajam. I love when he goes here, boom, boom, really nice into those legs. Nice little partner work, but then we have something happening in the lower level. Great representation and usage of stage. Great partner work with the doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, bleeding into what we saw in the beginning. I love that. Dropping it down. Love this energy right here. And then we have two features on the sides. Now, I don't know if they're supposed to do the same thing. I don't think so. No, I don't think they're doing the same thing. They're just vibing it out on either side, which is totally fine. This part looks fine. Kind of doing his own thing, tailoring some of it to what's going on with everybody else. So I love that. My note though would be this, because if you notice, it does feel he's now in the center here, but in the beginning of this, I think he was supposed to be center and he was just off center. We're gonna go and use this Mr. Mike right here as our center point because I've seen it a couple times now. He needs to scooch over a lot. So I think he's off center, and that does take away from the symmetry of the costuming as well as what he's potentially contributing to the set. So that'd be my general note. Now that part it works, but notice that he's adjusting it. What a pro move. And that's something I don't think he was supposed to do originally. He's just making the adjustment. Doing kind of, I love this. That is gorgeous. Just the range on the shoulder flexibility is so refined. This right here going boom, great levels. I wish that he was a little bit lower and actually was about right here with his head. Like if his head was like hanging out right here, we Gucci. So like really leaning into it, that would really feel like we've properly framed and not feel disconnected. That's kind of what we're seeing right now. We have everybody else and then we have him. You want him to be ingrained and enmeshed within the track with everybody. So, I mean, in general, I really like this. I mean, I liked both sets. Do I feel though, I think this is the first time, like the first match, where everybody feels very human, like dancer human, because there's some element to some of these intricacies and synchronicities that we've been seeing in some of these sets in the rounds past, where you're just like, oh my god, this is some of the most, you know, captivating abnormally clean things you will ever watch, you know, and you don't think of them as humans, you think of them as visual representatives of the music, and that's kind of your goal. But this felt like a very human match to me, between KADOKAWA and MONOLIZ. I would say with KADOKAWA, they definitely had more cleanliness on their side, but they also had props that ran a higher risk of it not being as clean, and you did see that in some instances. They also kind of overshadowed just a smidgen on some of the musicality. I think we could have refined that a little bit more. And then with MONOLIZ, I do think we had just a couple of very human things happen, like somebody falling out of a flip, formation adjustments, and then some of the stability things. I do think audience may give it to MONOLIZ for this. Now, I do know, let me see. I did pull I did a translation of what they're adjudicating. So skill, creation, choreography, style, and perfection. I would say, the perfection, so category 5 is going to be a toss-up between the two. So that's what my prediction is there. That's what I'm going to try to do. Yeah, prediction. Perfection is going to be a mix between the two. When it comes to the style, good chance MONOLIZ may take that just because it was so apparent and so clear, and they showed a lot of complexity within it. Choreography, I think it could swing either way, personally, because you can find beauty in both, but I do think if you're looking for depth of choreo, because once again, I don't know what the actual micro sub branches of these categories are because it's so broad. These are very, very broad terms. You can swing them multiple ways. So choreography, I don't know if they're tailoring it to like the actual structure of the content. I would probably give that to MONOLIZ as well. Creation, I liked both. I do feel like we have done a shinobi concept in day-to-day life. But honestly, like, there's really nothing new under the sun. There's different innovations within that. So creation, that to me, if we're going off of like creativity, but creativity of what? Music production, something. I do like the soundtrack from KADOKAWA. I think that was a really dope soundtrack. And then with skill, good chance MONOLIZ may take that one too, because KADOKAWA had a more simplistic approach to a lot of their choreo, and there was a lot of overlap in the fingerprints of texture. So my gut tells me MONOLIZ may take this. They may take it. They may take it by a lot, possibly. But here's the thing: I don't really have full confidence in shutouts ever, because audience can swing completely different ways, right? Because for me, I was assuming Cyber Agent could have totally have done a shutout, but audience voted for Sega Sammy. So audience, we're going for MONOLIZ, and then I'm gonna say judges. Most of the judges may also go for MONOLIZ, because when you look at all the items of the criteria and not just one or two, MONOLIZ, I think, pulled out a little bit more, despite a lot of the discrepancies within the like the execution of some of their formations and some of their like acrobatics. But let's go ahead and take a look at the judges' commentary.
和なのにニューヨークのカルチャーをミックス。自分たちのスタイルに迷いなく。ちょっと格が違うな。
I could be so wrong. Let's see.
Round 3, third match.
Third match, KADOKAWA Dreams
versus Benefit One,
MONOLIZ.
Leto.
Oh, it's a shutout.
私は
Oh, let's look here. Okay, so this is the part I'm looking at. With skill and creativity, KADOKAWA took it, but choreo style and perfection and synchronicity is gonna go to Benefit One. Okay, yeah, I mean, I did say for perfection it was a toss-up, because it just kind of, are you factoring in the complexity of the perfection? Like, are you factoring in like, based on how polyrhythmic your synchronicity is that gonna make your score higher? That I'm assuming yes, because it's a numbered scale. But I mean, it's once again, it's a super close match. Super close match.
に入れさせていただきました。まずKADOKAWAですね。生と動を表現するっていうことだったんですけれども、止まってる時もすごくオーラだけで見せられてしまうっていう、こうメンバーの凄みだったりとか自信っていうものをド頭から感じて、でハットをかぶっているので 表情は半分しか見えないんですけ
So I
れども、
wonder if they didn't like the fact
こう伝わる
that they
表情
couldn't
って
see
いう
their
ものを
expressions.
全面的に伝えるではなくって、ハットから覗いた鋭い視線だったりとかっていうので、ちょっとこう引きつけられる本当に、
I agree. I think I made a note of that.
思いました。ハイスキルですし、
High level of skill.
見せ場っていうのもあったんですけれども、印象的なシーンがもちろんカノンからのこうフォーメーションが変わってからのルーティンだったりとかっていう一個一個のシーンっていうのは印象はあるんですけれども、もう一個何か欲しかった、完成度としては良かったんですけれども、もう一個欲しかったなっていうのが残ってしまってて、で一方モノリスの方はですね、ドア玉のインパクトとこの市松の背景の中でのうごめく、やっぱりその防具の動きって万華鏡のようなパラパラとカラカラと変わるようなその美しさと全体的な基調がとっても美しくて、でその中で力強さと皆さんのシンクロとっていうのが感じられて、ちょっとそのヒールを履いていらっしゃるので、若干そのヒールによるブレっていうのが見えた部分が、数箇所あったかなと思ったんですけれども、
Yeah,
それ以上
stability.
になんかそのショーとしてのクオリティだったりとか、見せようとしている世界観ですねの圧倒的な強さっていうものを感じました。ブレってすごくこう難しいと思うんですけど、パワーを伝えようとしてその力みすぎてちょっとブレになってしまったり、 100% を押し出す一個手前で落ち着けよみたいなところでパフォーマンスできると、その歪みみたいなものがなくなってくるのかなとは思ったんですけれども、でももうなんかそれをかき消すような勢いだったりとかっていうので、最後まで駆け巡って、そして魅了していった感があって、私はもうそこに圧倒されてしまいました。ということで、私はベネフィットワンモノリスに入れさせていただきました。
Can we just talk about the fact that we just need to talk about the fact that KADOKAWA did a shutout literally the last round, and then they got shut out. So it just shows you the caliber of, like, the importance of what you bring to the table, because everybody's good. So it's just say, did what you bring this week beat what somebody else brought in your matchup? It's literally such a toss up for people, you know what I mean? So it looks like they gave skill to MONOLIZ, which is what I was expecting. Creation choreo so they appreciate whenever people take innovation, which I totally respect. I can agree with that for sure. Style, yeah, I do think that Benefit One took that perfection. That one, if you're going off of now, I don't agree with the 10, giving a 10 there. That was not perfect. What was it? If anything, it was one of their least perfect routines. Shinichi, my guy! Come on!
ドラマチックな今日のショー。自分の勝手なイメージなんですけど、なんかこう、一人がみんなのためにっていうか、みんなが一人のためにっていうか、踊ってるような、激しいんだけど。
They pulled a Sega Sammy is what it's giving me, but in their way. I love it though. Yeah. I like the fact they've tried different themes.
してるすごい印象があって、優勝しても進化止めてないのはすごいなと思います。今回も素晴らしいKADOKAWAワールドで良かったと思います。対するモノリスなんですけども、今回忍者っていうことでテーマとダンスがもうバッチリ噛み合ったショーだったんじゃないかなと思ってて、最初のね襖の小道具も速効果的ですごい最初から引き込まれていきましたね。彼女たちのこのボーギングとかの手の感じが
I will say this.
真剣なイメージも見えてきて、
It would not.
これ勝手な自分のあれなんですけ
It all depends too. If you had KADOKAWA go up against another team,
ど、そして SP の
it could be a different icon, Javier, the Dragon Ninja. Ooh.
モノリスワールド全 こういうので勝ったのは結構でかいんじゃないかなと思いますね。
That's cool.
強いけど自分たちのスタイルとか手にせきれてるっていうのももう次につながるんじゃないかなと思ってかどかも良かったですけど
Imagine being a special
やってま
guest
したね。
for a team that's like really, really good, but you're like a special guest for the team. Like, that's cool.
モノリスさん
Okay. So she gave everything to. Okay. Gotcha.
入れさせていただきました。KADOKAWA
Everything except perfection went to benefit one.
やっぱり衣装が
She's normally one who appreciates these types of concepts, so I do find it interesting that the score wasn't closer.
シルエットもしっかりと見せるように形を作り上げてきて、インナーのね白もまたおしゃれだなと思いました。こだわりが本当に深いと。
There was a little lag in stage right, and near the
私の中でかな
front
り
of
インパク
stage.
トが
I did notice
あ
that.
ったシーンが途中ね男性の方が3人で、真ん中から
That hinge was dope, though.
こう胸をこうぐーっとやるシーンなんですけれども、あそこのダンスがすごいかっこよかったですね。KADOKAWAドリームスさんのスタイルがなんかはっきりとなんかアピールされた瞬間だったんじゃないかなと私はすごく感じました。前半もあったんですけれども、後半も生と動っていう最初から最後までの流れのタイトルと作品がある中でこう向き合って、体現するシーンがなんか鏡に見える瞬間が私の中であったので、あれもすごくこう見ててとても面白かったです。生と動っていう、意味がリンクされてるんじゃないかなと私の中では思いました。で後ろから、メインでないいんですけれども歩いてくる時の躍動感とかそういったものも作品のテーマにしっかりマッチしていて、心奪われたシーンの一つです。生と動というテーマなのでこう生っていう部分と動っていう部分のもっとこうはっきりとした深みが引き立つような流れがもう一つ見えると、伝わりやすかったかなと私は思いました。でも本当に素晴らしい作品でした。ベネフィットワンモノリスさん、こちらも間違いなくファッションがあらなしで、パーフェクトだと思います。はい、色使いも質感もヒールのエナメル感であったり、トップスにも入ってるんですけれども、本当にメイクも全て繊細で、私が好きなのはこのお尻の下のラインのね、この太ももの空いてるところ、その周りの枠もしっかり縁取っていて、彼女たちのシルエットをこう歩くだけでのかっこよさ、美しさっていうのがしっかりと分かる衣装になっていて、こう腰のひねりであり、この手先にしても指に白いものをこう皆さんつけられてるんですけれども、さらにこう美しく繊細に見させてくれる、衣装はもう本当にダンスとマッチしていて、で
Honestly, it's very impressive that she was able to go into her split
帽子もまたおしゃれなんですよね。
without using her hands at all. You noticed that? That was so freaking sick.
グッと上がったところとなります。ニューヨークから来られたゲストパフォーマーのドラゴン忍者さんの
Look at me. I think this is the first time I caught a special performer in this. I mean, I think it was very, very clear. But it was super cool.
鳥肌ものでしたね。彼が登場してきてセンターでソロをするんですけれども、その周りで座ってパフォーマンスされているダンサーさんたちがちょっとこう忍者っぽい指先を作って遊ぶんですよね。それをまた防具とかけていて新しい見せ方で、私はやっぱりここは新しいものを防具でしっかりと見せきっている素晴らしいチームだなと今回は改めて感じさせていただきました。はい、なので今回はベネフィットワンモノリスさんに入れさせていただきました。
Yeah.
僕は
Ooh, goodness gracious. There was bless KADOKAWA for that. Okay.
さんの方に票を入れました。まず、先行のKADOKAWAドリームズさんなんですけど、まず僕のフェイバリット構成というかパートなんですけど、終盤の縦位置に全員並んだ状態からのカノンのようなこう動きを使いながらわーってこう円で移動していって、
Cannon.
最後につなげるっていう、なんかそのこう山の持っていき方っていうのがまず素晴らしかったなと思います。で、生と同っていうところなんですけど、僕の解釈受け取り方では、例えば前半
They kept saying like students. I don't think I'm very clear on the concept, which is why that's not like a huge determining factor. There's so many other categories.
もうちょっと性の部分が見たかったっていうのもあったりします。震えるバイブレーションだったりとか、ポップヒットだったりとか、それこそそのポッピンでよく使うようなちょっとこういう感じのポージングだったりとか、要所要所にそういうポップのスキルが入ってるなって印象だったんですけど、ちょっとそこがいやらしく見えたというか、僕たちもちょっと遠いところに座ってますし、会場も広いんで伝えるためにはちょっとこう大げさにブンってやるっていうのも
I saw that same thing.
自然に見せれてもよかったかもっていうのは正直。
There we go.
あと
Okay.
はあれですね、ちょっと
Okay.
前ぐらいかな、下手側の方で一人こうちょっとつま先ターンみたいな感じで回ってこうフロアにブンって落ちるような、ここも一個見せ場だと思うんですけど、ちょっ
Yeah.
とそこがぐらついて見えた。
So I guess out of all the judges, this is our newer judge,
ちょっとそこが
right?
失敗に見えたので、
This is his first
ちょっ
time.
と失敗に見えたっていうことはっていうのもあるんで、結構そこもったいないなっていうふうに思いました。とは言っても、衣装から音楽から含めて、ここももう初めから最後まで一本筋の通ったショーで素晴らしいショーだったと思います。
So I guess this guy is growing on me a little bit more because
自分たちがレペゼンするボーグっていうスタイル、でかつ僕の解釈だとやっぱボーギングっていうジャンルは四つ打ちのニューヨークのクラブでと一緒に育ってきた文化ジャンルだと思ってるんで、曲もなんかそういうちょっと四つ打ちがベースになってるような、ハウスミュージックがベースになってるような曲で、作戦勝ちじゃないですけど、そりゃもうなんか自分たちの積み上げてきたものをぶつけるだけだっていう思いというか勢いというかっていうのはすごい伝わりました。っていうそのビートの上で、和の三味線の動きもこのアームスの動きとマッチしすぎてて、マッチしすぎてて見てて変な気持ちになってくるぐらい、なんかもう本当に三味線と腕一緒、なんか同じタイミングで動いてるっていうか、そこすごい印象に残ってますね。
Because he was talking about the range of the rotations.
襖の上からこう一人バーって出てきてて、あれ下ろす時とかも全然ブレないし、なんかそこの質もすごいなと思ったし、ただちょっともったいないところで言うと、ヒールを履いて踊るってやっぱ相当すごいことだと思うんですね。なんですけど、気持ちが多分前に出てるかゆえなのかわかんないんですけど、アクロバットする部分とかが2回かなあったと思うんですけど、ちょっとそこも着地がちょっとミスったのかなとか、前半の一発目のアクロはちょっとヒヤッとしたりとか、そういう部分がちょっと惜しかったなとは思うんですけど、自分たちのスタイルをこうガンガンに迷いなくなんかぶつけてきたなっていう、こうなんか内からこうなんかもう私たちはこれが好きでこれをレペゼンしててっていうのがもうバシバシに伝わってきて、なんでもうちょっとここはこのショーに関しては本当にいい意味で何も言うことがないっていうか、本当に素晴らしいショーだったと思います。なので、僕はサードマッチはベネフィットはモノリス。
So the translation made it sound like he was like, this was really bad, but I know that's not, he wouldn't say that.
私はベネフィットはモノリスさんにいらさせていただきました。
Oh!
面白い戦いだったと思います。KADOKAWAドリームスさん
She
は
gave their perfection a lower, which I mean, I do.
すごくわかりやすいテーマだなと思ってるんですけど、このチームはもともとこの生徒
And this is what actually this reminded me. So this is why it's important to be very clear on your categories, because just because their complexity of content may be higher than in other groups, MONOLIZ's synchronicity, I think, like, in formations and some of their choices was not as clean as KADOKAWA's was. But they also, but MONOLIZ had more complexity of their movement. They also had more range, too, of styles justified. You know, I mean, here, of course, it's like what is it? They are vibing and teetering between popping techniques. So, of course, it's like within their own elements, they're taking a more innovative route with the type of track it is. But then when you have a group like Benefit One MONOLIZ, they took on a concept and they showcased their techniques a little bit more. Not fundamentally, but they innovated it, but not quite as much as the innovation that we saw here. Like, they had an emotional justification on top of it, but with Benefit One, they had more of a style justification. Does that kind of make sense? So, like, it's different things that they were trying to get across.
個人的には性をもっと長く見たい、銅をもっと長く見たいっていう欲張りなんですけど、もっと見たかったっていうのが個人的な感想ですね。でもやっぱり
This does make me curious as to what the
高いものなので、まだまだ今後に期待したいなって思ってます。
my brain's not braining.
さん、
Bless it.
いや最初からとっても世界観に引き込まれてとっても良かったと思います。このゲストダンサー、そしてハルさん、この2名のですね、オーラとエナジーとパワーがちょっと格が違うなっていうのを感じたプラス、正直言うとやっぱりこの勢いがすごい出てしまった分、少しこうふらつきと言いますか、細かい部分が目立ってしまったってところはあったんですけど、それをかき消すオーラと、はい、スキル、
their performance helps with that.
思っています。完全にこれはもう持っていったなという感じの作品だったかなと思います。ということで私はベネフィットはモノレスさんに入れさせていただきました。
Cool. So does it surprise me that a shutout happened? No, because I mean, when you look at kind of all the categories, I think MONOLIZ would have taken more items anyway, and that's exactly what we saw. Now, you did have some judges that were like, all MONOLIZ, and then you had some judges where it was a little bit closer, you know? For me, I think, because once again, I really don't understand the true fluency of what their criteria and their, like, what makes up the criteria. I only have the actual vocab term, and I have to kind of figure and glean for my own understanding of how they're choosing to justify it. I also don't know if they're judging these before or after both groups go. That does change how the judging is. And that is still something I stand by. I hope that they judge them, you know, separately. But then part of me also knows that there's always a winner per category. Like, you never see a tie. So part of me is like, I wonder if they adjust their score while they're watching. I don't know. But I'm very hopeful for round 4 that KADOKAWA comes back strong. I mean, this was strong, don't get me wrong, but like their round 3 is definitely going to be it's going to be one of their best performances they've done in the entire season. And not just because they got a shutout, it was just the beauty of the musicality representation was divine. So I'm curious as to what their round 4 is going to look like, to see what kind of concept they choose to pursue, because I also know there is a chance they may factor into just who are they against? Full cast risers. So I know it may have something to do with who they're against too. Don't know, but this will be really fun to see. And this was a pretty decent matchup. I mean, there's no matchup that I'm like, ooh, that was off. And that's what makes D.LEAGUE so fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more D.LEAGUE as I react to it and as I post it, I always post it on Patreon first, and then it comes out like about 1 per day during the week on YouTube. And so if you're somebody that wants to see as I react, because I typically try to do at least 2 matches a day just until I catch up. That's kind of my goal, is playing catch up right now, because right now they're about to shoot round 6, I think, or yeah, I think that's about to happen in less than a week. So I'm not even halfway through, you know, so I gotta make sure that I'm on top of it here so we can all enjoy it in real time together. But this has been so fun for me, and I feel like I'm learning so much about just people's capabilities on a stage with 8 people, the things you can do. It's just so captivating and it's inspiring for me as a choreographer myself. Even though I don't work with professionals nearly as much as I work with just individuals who are training to potentially become professionals if they so choose, it's really nice to be able to see these kinds of realms where we can choose to explore those or figure something out with them. So that's really nice. Once again, I am Jess. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I will catch you on the flip side.